Hello and welcome to this edition of Ringside Digest. I'm your host Kirk Day, along with my co-hosts Noah Byrne and Nick Miller. And today we got some news involving some of the NHL's top prospects finally signing their entry-level deals with some teams. We've also got a little playoff update here with some teams clinching recently, some teams getting eliminated. So I want to go over what we know so far, kind of the matchups and stuff, and the teams that have clinched and been eliminated. And yeah, we're just going to go over that really quick. But before we get into this video, make sure to subscribe because we're going to be posting a lot more content now that the playoffs are going to be coming along soon. The postseason, we're going to have free agency and draft coming up as well. So it's going to be very exciting. So make sure to subscribe so you don't miss anything. And with our first story here today, we have the top prospects are signing their entry-level deals in the NHL. So we have two today that have been announced by their teams. The first one is Sean Farrell, and the second one is Matthew Coronato. And the first one we're going to go over is Sean Farrell. Happened this morning. The Canadiens tweeted, "We have agreed to terms on a 3-year entry-level deal contract with Sean Farrell." I'm sure Montreal fans seen this coming. It was going to happen soon enough. I'll just pull up his stats here. This season, in 34 games, he has 53 points. He's playing fantastic. I don't know too much about him, but Nick and Noah do, so I'll pan over them, let them think. But his comparisons have been this year of Johnny Gaudreau and playstyle and Alex DeBrincat. The two players you can't really complain about, in my opinion. But, I mean, from what I've seen with him, the little bit I have, he's got a good shot and he's very good with the puck. So that's pretty much all I have with that. But what do you think, Noah? What do you think about him? Is he a good player?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Speaking as a Habs fan here, I'm super pumped that they locked him up. But like you showed there his stats in college, he was lighting it up in college. He's not a bad guy to add in a young group in Montreal. If I am correct, I think he played in the Olympics there when it was the COVID over what year? I think it was 2020, I think, and he put up some decent numbers. I think he had 5 or 6 points in 6 or 7 games. So, not a bad little player to add for in that big young group over there in Montreal.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm beyond ecstatic to see him start here at the end of the season because, I mean, it's a little bit of a different situation to what Calgary has going on. They're still fighting for a playoff spot. But with Montreal, like, they've just got him up to showcase what he can do. And I really like that. Like, there's plenty of spots open on that team. Like, I mean, the bottom 6 on that team, I don't think any of us, speaking as Habs fans, want to see really back at all next year. So there's plenty of open spots to fight for next year, and I'm excited to see Sean Farrell get going.
Yeah, it's good to get him at the end of this season as well, get him a few games, because I believe he is going to play their next game right in Buffalo, is it?
Yeah, I think so. I think they made a tweet and said he'll play.
It's good to get that experience in the end of the season. And the second one we have here is Matthew Coronato, and this one only happened probably an hour ago. The Calgary Flames tweeted along with Elliot Friedman and a few more insiders, and just said, welcome to whatever that is, from Matt Coronato, from the Flames. So this is another one that playing in Harvard, coming over, signing now that their season is over. It's pretty good as well. His stats with Harvard been pretty much consistent the past 2 years, 36 points in 34 games. Now, this is one player I have seen a bit more of in the World Juniors especially, and from what I've seen, he's a good player. I like what he does. He's strong with the puck, got a good shot, he's pretty skilled offensively, and his pre-draft comparison I have here is Jake Gensel's from what I've seen, and this was pre-draft, so I mean, that's when Jake Gensel was in his prime, like playoff Jake Gensel. So, I mean, that's, once again, it's not a very, very bad comparison at all. And I've seen from a few people saying that this could potentially be Calgary's top offensive prospect. So that would definitely help them in the little bit of a slump they're having here now, of course, from the recent weeks that we've seen. So I don't think this is a bad one either. It's very good. Will help Calgary a lot, I think, going into the playoffs or their end run here. What do you think about that one, Noah?
Yeah, I think he's going to fit in so well. They have some elite forwards over there, and playing him with a guy like, say, Nazem Kadri or Jonathan Huberdeau. I mean, now I know Huberdeau's had a little bit of a down year. Well, we won't talk about that, but I still think he's an elite winger. And you pair Matt Coronato up with like two of those guys like that, it's a recipe for success. And I just want to talk a little bit about Calgary's young core. They have Pelletier, I think. Is it Jacob Pelletier?
Yeah.
They have him, and they have a guy, Connor Zary, who's lighting up in the AHL. There are 3 big pieces, and there are three big young guys that can help contribute offensively. I think the big thing now is how's it going to all come into wraps with Daryl Sutter out behind the bench there.
Yeah, I think what you were saying, Kirk, about them going through a little bit of a struggle recently, I think the key to that is getting a new coach. Like, if they don't make the playoffs this year, or even if they do make the playoffs, they're probably going to be out in one anyway. So, I mean, I just think Daryl Sutter has to go. There's obviously something going on there. The players – now, I've heard there's no confirmation on this. This is just like rumblings that a lot of the players don't like Daryl Sutter, and they don't. I'm pretty sure a lot of people know that, but a lot of the players don't like Daryl Sutter, and they don't want him to come back next year. And I can't say I blame him. From what I'm seeing right now, I don't know. I don't think his style of coaching fits in the NHL anymore. I really don't.
No, I completely agree with you. He got to go, regardless of what happens this season. Like, you can see from the interviews, it's like it almost as if he don't enjoy being there. Almost like he just one word answers. Like, that's not what you should do as a head coach to reporters about like the problems with your team. You need to answer. You need to give them a good answer. You need to make the fans believe that you're trying to be good and not just letting go of the team and giving up.
I think
the more transparent you are, the more well received you are by the community of your fans. You need to be more transparent. Like, I know we've seen in Montreal, back when it was Michel Therrien and Marc Bergevin, they were the furthest thing from transparent. And I know we all really didn't enjoy that. I mean, I've heard puck luck too many times. I still hear it in my dreams. So I don't want to hear any of that. Talk about the actual problems. Be transparent with your fan base. Be transparent with your players more than anything, and you'll be well received. I don't think Daryl Sutter is that guy.
no. I think a big issue over there is you got those young guys like Pelletier, who's playing not even seeing 10 minutes a night. And how are you going to develop those guys, if they're only seeing less than 10 minutes? That's why I think if you bring in Coronato and you play him on that top six, I think he could be a big X factor for the Calgary Flames.
No, you're absolutely right. The change needs to happen. I think this is the good first step for it.
Yep.
And with our second topic we have here today is that some teams are starting to clinch the playoffs. I know we've seen this over the last few days. This is, here we go. Boston has clinched the Atlantic Division. We got Carolina and New Jersey also clinching playoff spots. And you got a few teams like Vegas, New York, that you'll probably see coming up soon. Now, with that, I also just wanted to go over, this is from the NHL website, and it says, if the Stanley Cup playoffs started today, these would be the matchups. Now, I think most of this is pretty much what you're going to see. You may see a few people change, like you might see Minnesota play either Colorado or Dallas. You might see a few teams on the eastern side going in the wild card, going up and down. But as of right now, I think this is pretty much what you're going to see. I think this is around a couple spots that are going to be shifted, but this is pretty much it. So you're going to see a lot of these teams starting to get their positions locked up in the next few days, next few weeks when it comes, ending a few games. So it's going to be interesting to see what teams are going to do. If you're going to clinch, are you going to sit some people? Are you going to try to move up a position to play someone else? Are you going to try to move down to play someone else? It's going to be interesting to see. So what do you think about these teams clinching, Noah? And what do you think about the teams that are going to be clinching soon and where they're going to play?
Yeah, I'm very curious to see one team, and one team in specific is Boston. They've been dominant all year, and they got the big, like you said, talking about wrestling players and stuff. I think we talked about this earlier, how they have two very solid goaltenders. I think it kind of poses the question, do you sit Linus Ullmark for the last 5 or 6 games, and you let Jeremy Swayman come in and kind of take over and see what he can do? Or, do you keep Ullmark in and you ride it out?
Yeah, I don't think you do that. I really don't. I've always said this with teams that like Boston, it's very dangerous going into the playoffs to start resting players. Like, I know you're trying to avoid the injury and stuff. There are upsides to resting players, but if you're going into the playoffs as a team like Boston, you've been clinched for a while now. You've known you're going to finish first in the league for a while now. It's just going to happen. And you got a team like, say, I don't know, a team like they might play like Pittsburgh or the Islanders or something like that. Or if a team like Florida manages to get in there, they've been playing playoff hockey for a month and a half, 2 months. So those guys are ready for it. Like, as soon as the puck drops, they're ready for it. So if you start resting your players and they come back in game 1 of the playoffs for their first game in say a week or so or 2 weeks, that might be a big problem. That's the problem I have with it. I see the next team probably going to clinch is Vegas in the West. That is, I think. Well, I don't think anyone's clinched in the West yet, have they?
No, not yet.
No.
Okay, so that's another thing I wanted to say. The West is wide open. Looking at that bracket over there, the West could not be more wide open. I don't think I've ever seen a bracket on that side. I think almost any one of those teams could get into at least the conference final. Like, that is ridiculous, and it just makes for an amazing setup for a playoffs. I can't wait for the playoffs this year.
It's going to be very exciting, especially on the West side, because the East, I think you got pretty much 4 or 5 teams that can go all the way. The other 3, they're pretty much at first round exit. But the West, it's going to be. I don't think you're going to know who you're going to be playing until probably the last 2 or 3 games of the season. Because right now, I know at least for the Central, they're split up by 3 points. Number 1, 2, and 3. It's Minnesota, I think, then Dallas and Colorado, or either Colorado and Dallas flipped. But I know it's 3-point split between them. So, and that's huge because whoever is going to get first is probably going to play Seattle. Whoever plays second is going to play Colorado or Dallas or Minnesota. So what that game is going to be, whoever plays in that one is going to be big. So you kind of want to win the Central for sure to be able to play. I'm not going to say a weaker team in Seattle, but they are weaker than Colorado and Dallas, what they would be. But just before we end this video off, I wanted to also go over the teams that are at the bottom of the standings. So the teams that are eliminated so far are Arizona, Anaheim, Chicago, Columbus, and San Jose. Now, Montreal, I believe, will be eliminated on their next loss. I think that's how it's going to work out. Next loss, they're out. But these teams as well, do you think they're going to bring in like the young guys? Like Montreal is going to bring in Sean Farrell, have him test a few games. Not sure if the other 4 bottom teams are going to have anybody to bring up, sign, give them a few NHL games on an NHL contract just to see while they're trying to lose as well. But it's going to be interesting to see as well because, I mean, the bottom, especially this year with Connor Bedard, pretty important to be as low as you can in the standings if you're not going to make it. So, I think want to know what you think about that as well, Noah and Nick.
You had something to say there, Nick?
Any team in that bottom 10 or 12 that you just had up there, I think any team that has a player finish up college right now is probably going to bring that player up if they're in their second year of college. I would think, like, if the player seems NHL ready. Now, getting away from the bottom 10, I think another interesting one to look at is what's going to happen with Matthew Nyes and what is Toronto going to do with him. Is he going to come up and try to help them on their playoff run? Because, as we've talked about it before, they're as all in as you can get. So, I mean, are they going to bring that guy up? And, he's been playing great this year. Like, yes, he does have great teammates. But, the guy has been an absolute stud, and I think he could help Toronto a decent bit going into the playoffs. So, I think that's another interesting one to look at.
Yeah, I think it's a safe bet because, we know Toronto's had some injuries with O'Reilly and Lafferty, both guys they got at the trade deadline, and both have been hurt for a little while every few games. O'Reilly's probably going to be back come playoff time. Lafferty's only missed a few games, but so you can. I guess you can. I can see him coming up at least. I'm not sure if he'll play. At least I think he should be there at least. Maybe not play him during the playoffs, but have him there as like a safety measure. Put him in the practice. Get him if you like him in practice. Maybe test him out a game if you're up 3-0 per se or up 3-1, just to give him a try and see. Give him that experience, especially having playoff experience in like your first few NHL games. It's definitely a big task to hold, but it's definitely something that will be good for the team and good for the prospects.
Yeah. I like what you said there about bringing him up just in case of the injury, and even outside of that, get him on an NHL club that has unironically a winning culture over there in Toronto, but just get him in, let him experience the playoff atmosphere. You can never go wrong with getting a little bit of exposure to that. So I'm all for Matthew Nyes signing with Toronto.
Yeah, I gotta say I'd like to see him come up and even if he's just sitting in the press box for a few games, just he's had a really good year. Like I would dare to say he's earned a little bit of a break. Just have him sit up there for a couple days and watch the games, get in there on the practice like you said, and then I think that's a win-win for both the team and the player.
Yeah, for sure. And just before we end this video as well, I just thought of another player that did come up in that bottom 4. Nikita Nesterenko, former Minnesota Wild, now on Anaheim. Did come up. He had his first NHL goal the other night as well. So I guess Anaheim is doing the same thing, getting the players up, giving that a bit of experience before. Because they got no hope this season. Best hope they have is for Connor Bedard. So you can't lose on it. So yeah, but that's all we have for this video, guys. And if you liked it, make sure to subscribe, like the video, because we're gonna be posting a lot more. It's gonna be very exciting now coming to playoff time. Coming draft time, coming free agency. It's all coming up very, very quickly. So make sure to subscribe if you like the video and you want to see more from us. And thank you for watching.